we step into a room, we get on a bus, we go from the base, we drive over to the compound. An instructor is there and is like, hey, just so you guys know, you guys are going to be dealing with bombs. You're going to be going down on bombs. Did anyone not know that this is what they were going to do? We did have one gentleman there that was like, yeah, this is not for me.
One's ready. One's ready. Go!
Hey everybody, before we hop into this next episode with 3 EOD dudes, explosive ordnance disposal dudes, would love for you guys to go over to drinkhoist.com. Check out all the different flavors they have. Also, they've got IV level hydration that are in a ready to drink format. They also have, and wait for it, these little packets. Okay. These things are so money. They don't even know it. Right. These are great for traveling, great for if you're on a ruck or something like that. You can just jam your ruck full of them. You can jam your pockets full of them and you've got hydration on the go. The cool thing about this is they taste great, but also they don't have any dyes or anything like that in them. So they've gone away with them. They only originally did them anyway because the military required them to, and they almost most of their sales or whatever you want to call it is to the military. So no more dyes. You can go over to drinkhoist.com, use the promo code One's Ready to get a discount, but you can also find them at some gas stations, some grocery stores and stuff like that. So it is not solely online. These guys have been with us since the very beginning. So we appreciate the hell out of them and look forward to continuing on with them to really deliver great hydration, IV level hydration to you, brother. Okay. Now this is an episode that when I put a story out on it, I couldn't believe the response I got because we get a lot of questions about SEER and EOD and PJ and CCT, SR, TACP and all that kind of good stuff, right? And other career fields. But I didn't realize how many people, and it's not because it's like, oh, it's EOD. It's just like, knowing our demographic and knowing the questions that we normally get, I wasn't expecting it. But dude, this episode, we've got Neil, Beaver, and Aiden. All three of which, Neil and Aiden are active duty. Beaver is a guard guy, so you get a guard flavor in there versus active duty. Then you get some cross training action in there. You get some SWOE. I'm not going to say failure or dropouts or anything like that because I don't know what the right, but you have folks that initially went in for Air Force Special Warfare and then ended up going EOD and they're crushing it. Neil just finished up, I think he said August. So it's very, very recent. And he's now at his new duty station and he's at the dorms. You have Aiden who is at his first base as an EOD tech. And then Beaver who finished up, I want to say it was March, I think is what he said. And so they've been doing the job. They go into what the course is like, what you can expect on the day to day. It was just a fun conversation with some dudes that just want to get after it. So yes, please enjoy yourself, enjoy the episode. And these guys are going to be in the comments section on YouTube. So if you have questions or you want somebody to elaborate even more, they are going to be looking out for those questions and hopefully there to answer them for you. All right, we're out here. See you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. You're in the team room. And like we promised, we are going to do an EOD episode. Mainly, guys, because I am sick and tired of talking to... No, I'm kidding. I'm not sick and tired of talking to EOD. It's just amazing the amount of people that are wanting to do EOD. And then you guys have got all kinds of different perspectives, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to go around the square here. If you guys don't mind introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, why you joined, and why did you pick EOD? So Neil, let's start with you.
Cool. My name is Neil. I'm from Texas originally. I shipped out of Hawaii. I came into the Air Force on a SWOE contract. And I got sick. I got hurt. I got out of that. While I was in holdover, I heard about EOD, before I went to the SW selection. That was the first SWOS class. And I remember there was like the One's Ready, like Instagram, and there was some about like, Crab Island where you can like still get Gucci gear and not get like totally crushed for it. And man, yeah, it floated in my head all through that. And I had a lot of friends that went to Florida for the tech school, and yeah, I ended the SW stuff, and I was fortunate enough to line up the EOD thing, which not everyone gets to say. And yeah, that's a little bit about that.
And I know we talked about it beforehand, but when did you graduate?
I graduate the EOD pipe.
Yep.
I graduated August 22nd.
Okay, of 2025. Like
Yes, just now. I'm in the dorms. Yeah, this is fresh.
And then when did you join? Just so we can figure out how long it took you.
Oh man, from like the SW like turnover, and I was like in like pre-SWIC before that. I got in January, went to boot camp January 2024. Yeah, it's been a bit.
Wow. Oh, yeah, it's been a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Student status.
Awesome. Yeah, gotta love student status. Beaver, let's talk with you. What's your deal?
My name's Caleb Beaver. I'm a National Guard guy out of Nebraska. Before I was National Guard, I got in 2019. I used to be a med tech, so like taking blood pressures, listening to people talk about back pain, everybody coming in saying, "Hey, I just want to put this on my VA claim. I don't really care if you treat me or not," that kind of thing. And then we had family that were sick, so I was like, "Oh, well, let's transition to the Guard," because I was active, and they had an opening here at the Nebraska Air National Guard for EOD, and that's like this job adjacent to special warfare was something that I felt called to do. So I applied, and I was like, "Hey, do you guys have any openings?" They were like, "Yeah, I guess, sure, go for it." And so then was it 2 years ago, after I came back from my deployment, started that process, went to prelim in 22, and then went to NAV School and graduated in March of this year. So
okay,
that wraps up. Yeah. So
you're public math here. You're like 6 months into the job, basically.
Yep, exactly. Just basically just trial by fire hose thing for 6 months in the Guard, because you only have so much time to do it, and so they've just been TDY for the past 6 months.
And then you're a part-time guardsman?
Yeah, so I'm traditional. So I do the 1 weekend a month kind of thing, which is not really 1 weekend a month when you're EOD, because they just want to send you to something every month. So it's kind of like half of each month is work. So yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. And if Trent was here, he would be talking about like how happy you seem being Guard. I think he's always been bitter about not going Guard.
Hey man, it's pretty sick. I spent 5 years active, and I did not really enjoy myself, but I was also like big blue, kind of not super fun, whatever. But coming over to this side and the Guard all together really makes quality of life a lot better for me. I think.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. All right, Aiden, how about you?
I guess I've been in the longest. Got in just straight out of high school. I was actually supposed to go to college. And a week before I was actually going to go to the college, I had my dorms lined up, classes lined up, join the military. Because both my family was military, shipped out of Houston, and they were like, if you really like the special warfare stuff, like you just got to go for it. And I was like, all right, peace out. So joined and went through selection, and that was a fun process. Got non-selected. I guess we were like the worst class of in history. If
everybody's the worst class.
Yeah, I would love for someone to like say like, oh, actually we were the worst, because they were telling us we were the one of, if not the only, negative selectee ratio. So there were 19 non-selects and 16 selects. So 2301, what's up? But then that didn't work out, and I was like, well, what else can I do? And one of the recruiter guys was like, well, security forces is pretty cool. It's like special warfare. I'm like, no, it's not, dude. No, it's not.
You can tell that BS then, huh?
Yeah, I was like, that's not true at all. And then they were like, well, EOD's pretty cool. I'm like the Hurt Locker? Like, is that what you mean? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, honestly, yeah, sure, dude. That's all I knew about EOD was just Hurt Locker. Signed up for that. And finally graduated NAV school April 24. Yeah, year and a half ago now. So got my 5 level earlier on this year in February. So now it's just been TDYs, VIPs, doing all the cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm glad you brought up the Hurt Locker because everything I've heard is that EOD is exactly like Hurt Locker. Like it's like
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
a documentary, basically.
Yeah. No, you can
Absolutely.
single-handedly pick up, what is it, 7 105s straight from deck
No,
court?
not 105s, 155s.
Or 155s. Yeah. 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 Okay. That's the craziest
buy
lat
the
pull
firing
I've
wire.
ever seen. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to pick by the fire
Oh, yeah.
wire.
It's actually part of our tier 2 workout routine. Yeah. That's part of the test.
That's right.
You have to.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's how you got your 5 level. It was a requirement. You had to do at least 4.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, man.
Awesome. Well, okay, so we've got a kind of litany of different experiences and different reasons of coming in and all that kind of stuff. And some of these, and we got inundated with a bunch of questions for EOD. So I won't go through all of them because it's a lot, and especially with 3 people, there's 0 expectations for each one of you to answer. But if you do have a perspective on it, like, please hop in. So let's go with the number one. This one was asked by 8 different people, and is what are the qualifications needed to even join EOD? And that, like I said, this is kind of a recruiter type questions. But if you guys know off the top of your head, Neil, I see you kind of nod your head. So do you know it off the top of your head what the requirements are?
A little bit. Maybe the other gents can help me out as I fill this out. I think, well, you need to pass the IFT, and the IFT standards are different than what the IFT standards are for the other special warfare career options. While I was in the school, they moved the pull-up requirement. It wasn't by much, from I think 3 to 6. Of course, those are minimums, and we're striving for more for that. The TAPIS, the like personality test. I know that when we like came into Eglin, the school, the chief that I had this like whole big spiel about like how EOD has like looks for a specific type of like Aiden, you're smiling. Hopefully you remember this. Has a specific type of a specific type of personality that like just tends to make good EOD techs, and how that type of personality works, or it's dynamic in like the rest of life. And we were all kind of like in the room being like, yeah, that does kind of sound like us. Like, yeah, we're in the right place. All right. Like,
Psychopath. All right.
a little bit, something like that.
Yeah.
Who's going to walk up on a bomb when everyone's running away? Right. So yeah, requirement wise, I don't know what the ASVAB is. But
I think it's like 57 or something. It's in the 50s, 52,
Okay.
57, something like that. So
It's
manageable.
generally like what it would be to be like a normal person in the Air Force, but like the TAPIS and the IFT kind of weed everybody out.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
because you have that like the faster 1.5 mile time, and then you have to do the pull-ups, that kind of like weeds out a lot of people. And then obviously we have no idea how the TAPIS is graded. So they just kind of like, well, are you a little autistic and have engineering qualities and are cool with going down on explosives that could possibly kill you? Yeah. Okay. Well then, yeah, you're probably a good fit for EOD. So generally it's just like the 1.5 miles, which is what, 11 minutes. It's like sub 11 minutes or something like that. I think now it's 6 pull-ups. Your push-ups, I think it's like 50, and then your sit-ups is 50 or something like that. And generally they try to keep the same standard as they would for like your special warfare test. So you want to have like a really good below 90 position, and then the lockout at the top. And then I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure they had us doing crunches, like the Air Force regular PT crunches instead of like full-blown sit-ups. But when you get to the schoolhouse, they have you do full-blown sit-ups because crunches are not an exercise and don't work at all.
Well, I'll tell you what I like about that is, so because because you guys belong to civil engineering at each base, right? And that kind of falls under, your Air Force umbrella, just like special warfare falls under the Air Force umbrella. But even some of our maintenance folks here, like they're trying to implement this Air Force wide, but our maintenance folks here take a different PT test. Now they take the Air Force PT test as well, but they have a maintenance PT test that is more kind of functional stuff where they've got to carry things. We're talking about 155s and stuff like that. Those kind of things that are job related. And I like that they keep you guys at a different standard as well. And I think that that's okay, but especially if the standard is more difficult, that's only a good thing. You guys should be able to do more than a personnelist or an admin troop or a med tech or somebody like that. You should be able to do that because one, you're running around in that heavy ass suit, right? Sweating your cojones off. And like the things that you're doing are not easy, and the things that we expect you and need you to do aren't easy.
And
And
what
even
you were
if you're
talking
not
about,
in the, go ahead. Aiden,
sorry.
sorry.
I was going to say that tier 2 test that I was talking about, we don't actually do the regular Air Force PT test anymore. So even though it bumped the standard to the 2-mile run and all that stuff like that, we won't do that anymore. We actually have to take the tier 2 again, November like 11th or something like that. It's coming up, or the 17th. And that starts off with a 1,000-meter row, and I'll give out the maximums. It's like a 20-point system. So everything is there's 4 tests or 4 exercises, all adds up to 5 points max. And your first one is going to be 1,000-meter row, and you can sub 333, I believe, to get 5 points. And then you move on to the medicine ball toss. And you have to like throw. There's 3 different positions. You throw it from like your left or right, whatever you're most comfortable with, and then you kind of granny throw it, and then you kind of like chuck it another way. Like there's 3 different motions: left, right, and then granny, and then like you turn around to where now you're throwing it like over the back of your head, basically. And all 3 of those have to combine up to 60 feet at least to make your 5 points. And then you move on to your deadlift, and trap bar deadlift. 320 is 4 points, and then 360 is 5 points. You have to do 5 reps of that. And then your final thing is the Grooster, and that's a super EOD functional specific test exercise. No one else in the entire Air Force, I don't know why anyone else in the entire Air Force would ever do this. I don't even know why we do it sometimes.
So what you said, Rooster, what is it?
So the Grooster is you have a 25-pound vest on, a kit, whatever, it just needs to be 25 pounds. And then you have a 50-pound sandbag. And you have a 25-meter distance you have to cover. Now you start at one side of it on your face, doing your hands are up. You're going to complete a hand release push-up. You're going to rotate 360 degrees, pick that sandbag up, sprint the 25 meters, get to the other side, drop it, hand release, rotate, like roll around, pick it back up, go back, drop it, hand release, don't pick up the sandbag, and then you're going to go back, hand release, roll, get back up, go back, and that's 1. And then you got to do that 5 times. And
I'm sorry, that sounds awesome, actually.
Yeah, I think some of the special warfare guys, we probably were doing that like for our G&Gs, and we didn't even know about it. And now at EOD, it's like, hey, guess what? This is supposed to do something with functional fitness. And I guess it makes a little sense because we are wearing our kits a lot of the times whenever we're doing dismounted jobs, or if we have some sort of OCONUS op that we have to train for, we're wearing our kit for it, and we got some heavy gear that we got to carry. So it does work out in the end.
And I just Googled it, and you're right. It is a 1,000-meter row, 20-pound medicine ball tossed, back, side, and a log.
It's like a granny thing. Yeah, they call it log. It's something weird. It's you just put it behind
like the Highland Games, but with
okay.
Granny toss,
And then it talks about the trap bar deadlift, 5 rep max, and then the Grooster. So it is, if for the folks that are listening, if you guys do want to check that out, it's got it all online. So I was not tracking that you guys had a different kind of OFT type thing. So that's cool. I love that.
It
If
started.
anyone, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say it started. It became actually into effect earlier this year.
Okay.
So yeah, anybody, all the EOD guys know, it's
Right. Yeah.
whatever. It's just another test.
Yeah, it's fun. I think if anyone here, as a challenge out to the listeners, who like chooses to do a Grooster on their own, can do that under 3 minutes, I salute you. We had a few people in the schoolhouse that did get under 3, but man, by the time you round the 3rd rep, you're like, you start, really feeling it. Yeah. And the thing is, some of the nuances is that you can't carry the sandbag by the handles. You know how like Rogue makes like the sandbags that you can't grab that. So some people are like, doing the push up, stepping over it, and then like having to grab it and like rotate violently.
Yep.
Getting it onto the shoulder and then running. Some people just keep it on their hip. Yeah. Sub 3 minutes. Let me know who gets it.
Yes.
I think that
Um,
3:30 is pretty normal. I'd say a lot of the
Mhm.
guys at the shop are getting like 3:30, some 3:15. If you walk it,
Mhm.
you'll make it in like 4:20, 4:30 if you're walking it practically. So
Mhm.
I may just have to do this just to give it a shot because it seems like fun.
yeah, it's not
Yeah.
bad if you do it once.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Beaver, why did you pick Air Force EOD versus Navy or Army or?
Well, I was already in the Air Force, so
That's
I just kind of like, I was like, well, this is the kind of the easiest path for me. I know like some people we have like from my guard unit alone, I think probably 85% of the guys are already, they're like prior techs from the Marine Corps. And so it just, my family's here. And so I wanted to move back here and there was an Air Force unit that had it. So that kind of worked out pretty nicely. But I just like the quality of life being in the Air Force is just second to none. I don't like even being an EOD tech, we do cross training with the Army every once in a while and we'll drive down to their bases and the rules are completely different for them. They're very like cut and dry and controlled. And I mean, I'm not saying that we're not cut and dry and controlled, but we don't have to wear our kit when we're setting up blocks of C4. Like the Army has to do that. We can just go do regular demo on the range and like exist as a human being and have like our own thoughts that coincide with the demo operations. That kind of. But
so you guys are cross training with the Navy and other services as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just a couple weeks ago, I was in Minnesota, and there were Marine techs, Navy techs, Air Force, and I think some Army guys were there too. So we try to get in with everybody. Everybody's got a different kind of mission set, so it's nice to kind of hear like what the Marines are doing when they're doing like when they're dismantling ordnance, just to figure out how it works. Like, and we're just, I don't know, it's just nice. Yeah.
I mean, I got to imagine that the joint aspect of it, because if Air Force is working on something and then you guys are able to create a new TTP, or you see a new device that is out there that really isn't in the publications yet, it's important to get that information out there to all of your counterparts, to include your other government agencies that aren't part of the DoD. I mean, I got to imagine, or I hope anyway, that communications flow is pretty robust, right?
Absolutely. So the EOD has their own system. So it's EODIMS, and every branch uses that same system to like do their recons. They do like if there's like a first found ordnance, there's somebody going to do a recon on it. There's certain TTPs, or I don't know what that stands for, but basically like procedures as to how you're supposed to do something. And so you're taking pictures with a fiduciary, you're taking your measurements, all that stuff. My unit specifically does a partnership with the Czech. So every year they come to us and we go to them, and we stay there for like a month, and we're learning from the Czechs, and we're learning from a lot of other units over there too. If you can think about what's in the area, a lot of people are coming in there and they're telling us like, hey, this is what we're seeing. These are new ordnance that we're finding, and this is how we treated them. This is how we handled this. This is how we handled that. And so we take all that information and we bring it back to our guys, and we bring it back to all the other guard units. And if there's any active units that we work with, we bring it out to them too. And we just kind of like disseminate that information informally, but there's also like a formal EODIMS that we can do all that stuff with as well.
Okay, good. Well, let me take a slight step back, and then let me ask you, Neil, how challenging was the EOD schoolhouse and pipeline for you? Were there little things that little gotchas, or was there ever a point you're like, dude, I don't know that this is right for me, or that like my performance, not quitting or anything like that, but just my performance, because everything that I've heard, obviously I've never been through it, but that academically it is tough. So over to you.
Yeah, I showing up to prelim last year in September. That's where most of the attrition happens, and the preliminary course is held at Shepherd Air Force Base, north of Texas, middle of nowhere. Pretty depressing place to be. You're as much big blue as it's gonna feel, with all the like phases as a student and like all the things. Yeah. The the preliminary course had the like day one, you show up, you do an IFT already right then, people drop off. I think we had like 34 people show up, and I think like right after the IFT there was 17 left. There was just like a mass of people that just like were not prepped for that. And then right after the IFT, we went into this like smoke session that lasted like 2, 3, maybe 4 hours. And well, even before that, we step into a room, we get on a bus, we go from the base, we drive over to the compound. An instructor is there and is like, hey, just so you guys know, you guys are going to be dealing with bombs. You're going to be going down on bombs. Did anyone not know that this is what they were going to do? And we did have one gentleman there that was like, oh, what? Yeah, this is not for me. And that was that. There's one that was gone. Yeah, so
What
that happens.
think you were signing up for,
Part of
dude?
the
That's a
title.
great
The
question.
recruiter lied to me, man. The recruiter lied to me.
Man, every
Dropping
single
the bucket.
every single recruiter out there just lies.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that happens. You do the IFT, you get smoked. Even in the smoke, people drop off. People get hurt, and then they get like washed back, and they're like, okay, you're gonna have to show up again, on like the next kind of smoke day to see if you can make it in. And then you get really introduced to the type of style of learning that you're gonna be doing after the preliminary course and all through the schoolhouse in Eglin, which I remember going through. You have like phase one in the preliminary course where if it's mostly academic, yeah, it's all academic if I remember right. There's no real practical side to that. If you fail a test, whether it's measurements or, I mean, they start you really, it's real like a crawl, walk, run type. And then if you fail it twice, there's no real conversation. You're out. You don't even get rolled back into like another class. If you can't pass phase one, which was really unfortunate. There was a dude that was coming after me. He had a mathematics degree and he failed the measurements portion. He double tapped it and he was out. And it was just the most wild concept to me because you do like conversions of decimals and things like this. You're in the time allotted, and if anyone would be primed for that, it's someone that has a mathematics degree, but maybe he like sped through it. Anyways, so yeah, phase one, if you double tap, you're out of the school. You're gone. Once you get into like building a Mark Deuce, which is part of the EOD tool set where you like it disrupts the fusing, and we can talk more about that, but that's where you start getting into the practical aspect. The instructors are starting to see you like go through like step one, step two, and like making sure that you're not like ejecting yourself or potentially like causing risking harm to yourself with the tools that you're making. Checking the like conductivity and a bunch of things. So once you get into that phase, there's still a lot of attrition that happens, but if you wash back, you'll just kind of like get into another class that then is moving through maybe 1 or 2 weeks behind. In the meantime, for those folks, they end up going and just focusing on like physical training. We have T3I coaches that are there at the compound, overly qualified. One was like a retired combat control chief. Yeah, Coach Hicks, man, what a man. Incredible. Yeah, and then the other gentleman was like a 2-4 SR guy, and like his bio on like the instructor wall was all redacted, and you're just like, whoa, cool, like he's so secret. Yeah. So assuming you make it past the preliminary course, you go on to Eglin. And I remember like getting to Eglin being like, all right, like I made it past the big hump. Like the Air Force now has trust in me that I can get through this school, right? Like should be a little bit like easier, a little foot off the gas. No, it was exactly the same type of teaching and learning styles. We were like, remember looking over at my roommate that was in the same class as me. And we're like, dude, they're shoving information down our throats in the same way. And they're like, you're testing tomorrow. And it's like, oh my God, what is this? And the different to what I think a lot of the jobs that are in the Air Force is that you don't really have homework. You can't like butcher the day and be like, don't worry, like I'll just in my own time when no one's watching, I'll study this on my own. All of that stuff is classified and they make it very explicit that you can't have any of these notes in your dorm or anything like this. So while you're there, that's your time to study. Yeah. So the challenging part was just like the constant stress of being like, I feel like I know this, or like I know this just enough, but if they throw a curveball, I don't know if I'm going to handle it. They talk about having your ego. It's like someone further along in the class that maybe not as smart as you think yourself to be that has made it further than you.
That's somebody's name, Eagle. Like there was a guy named Eagle that everybody looked at and they were like, he's kind of dumb, but he's making it. So we're going to use him as the point to understand that we can do this too.
He's the unit of measure.
Right. Yes, exactly.
And that carries you. That definitely pushes you on along. I remember being in testing like, no way this dude passed this test. And like, I can't, like, man, I really got to lock in right now. So yeah, and they have a little bit of like an intimidation factor too. Once you make it into Eglin, there's another like smoke session and people get rolled back there. The instructors are like watching you. And I've seen people be like, sorry, you got to like get back and keep trying this physical aspect before we can send you through. We get smoked in the bomb suit. We get smoked in like the J list, like the chem gear stuff. All of that, invokes a little of anxiety. You're suiting up. You're like, how bad is this going to be? But you got your eagle and, you got the folks next to you and you just take it one step at a time. The academic portion was stressful. It never felt like there's these like benchmarks where like if you make it past the air division, like you're kind of a little bit okay. I just caught word of friends that like they were in the last division, the last chapter of curriculum in the school, 8-4, and they kicked them. So like that's like 2 tests away from like being done with the school.
No,
you're talking to your family being like, hey, like
come out for graduation. Buy plane tickets for graduation. Come on out and see me.
Right. And it doesn't stop. Like it just, the pressure of like, I don't know if I'm going to put a crab on my chest or not. Like it's just constantly draining, so draining for like 9 months plus to just not know whether you're going to make it or not.
I hear that. Beaver, what about you? Like what were some of the points, if any, that were in there that you were like, dude, I know Eagle passed it, but I don't know that I'm going to get there.
Right. It just it's that repetitive nature. Like you get into a sequence, you're like, okay, well, I got 3 practice days and then I got a test day. I got 3 practice days and I got a test day. And so like when you're in the big schoolhouse, but when you're in prelim, you're testing every day. So even if you fail that test, you're taking that same test again that afternoon. So you'll take it in the morning and you have like 3 hours, you take your lunch break, you eat or don't, and then you're just studying the whole time and then you test in the afternoon. So just like I went to college, I have a degree. That is not even close to what the regimen that you have in NAV school is. You are taking a test so frequently and they're teaching it to you. You're sitting there for 12 hours a day, whether that's like in the pubs, scrolling through everything, trying to figure out what it is, to going out and like doing your procedures and trying to figure out if the procedure that you're doing is accurate. That repetitive nature, just like you're just going and going and going. And it's the same thing. And then once you feel like you've got it figured out, you switch it up and then you're in IEDs. And now it's like, oh, it's up to you now. And you have to make decisions on all this stuff. And we just give you like parameters. And then after that, it's like, oh, well, now you're back to using pubs again. And you have to do everything in like JS list for the bomb suit, or everything that you're learning is uber classified and you can't even like nothing is available to you. And I think just having to do that for a year straight is like just mentally exhausting. So like when you get home at 7 o'clock or 6:30 after your full day of just going to school, and then you go back to the debt and you PT for an hour and a half, and then you go home, and then you're like, okay, well, I have just enough time to eat a sandwich and then lay down and go to bed and then wake up at 4 a.m. to go back to school. That like Groundhog Day feeling every day was like, that was probably the hardest part, honestly.
Interesting. Okay, cool. What about you, Aiden?
I think I sound like I was probably your guys' eagle. Going through school, man. So unicorn through prelim. I got through prelim. I've had some fun situations happen through prelim, little with the admin side, but never tapped the test. And finally I got out of that. It took me like 3 months to get out of prelim. It's only a 25-day course, and it took me 3 months. Yeah, so some paperwork, you know how it is. But good stories I can tell later. And then eventually get to Florida, and man, I did not think, I thought it was going to be, I personally had a pretty, I wouldn't say easy time because it was still stressful for sure. But I definitely had a decent time at prelim. So I was just knocking out all this stuff, and I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. And then I get to Eglin, and I was like, all right, I was wrong. Like, so I did some dumb things because I'm not really one for the rules. So like they were just talking about the pub work, like there's pub work, and then there's steps and procedures that the instructors would be like, this is how you're going to do it. This is what's in the pubs. This is what you have to do. And I'm like, I don't really want to do that. Like, I feel like this makes sense because I'd understood how the whole system would work. And I'd just be like, all right, well, this makes sense to do it this way. I'm just going to do it this way. And that's not correct at all. So
That's not the Air Force answer.
yeah, you failed. Go take it again. You're coming back tomorrow. So man, I tapped.
Before, baby.
Yeah,
Yep.
practically 4. That's all it was. So yeah, I tapped. I doubled my tests. Doubled a couple tests. In total, I had 10 taps. So,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
So
You made it.
So,
Real quick,
yeah,
because
if I
you
can
guys
make
are
it,
using
anybody
you
can.
guys are using a language that I'm not familiar with, and I know the listeners not. So I'm guessing what you're talking about. When you say tap or double tap, you had to take a test twice, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
And
A
in
tap
pub
is
work,
just one failure. A tap is one failure. A double tap is like you failed twice and then you get rolled.
Yeah.
okay. And then pub work is publications, right? It's diving
much.
into the books. Okay, cool. Go on, Aiden. I gotta, when we start using acronyms or we start using different vernacular, it's like I don't want to lose people because people are going to be incredibly interested in this episode.
Yeah. So yeah, I tapped doing dumb things. Like I would fail the test off of like one simple. So the tests too are 85% or higher. So if you get 84%, which is why I tapped a lot of my tests, because I get a 16-point hit, or I'd get like 2 8-point hits. It just one or two things could totally kick you out of the whole school. Like one or two problems, poof, you're gone.
You could also be dead if you did that too. So
Yeah.
it keeps it in perspective, really. Like if you do those things in real life, the reason that they do it is because, well, that's your life, like you're going down on an item, and if you don't do it accurately, then like there's no more
exploded.
you. Right.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. Most of the stuff, and this is how when I would double tap, this is how I got back into how I stayed on the career field. Because I go to a academic review board, ARB, and you basically you show up in your blues, you're looking all nice and fancy. You're trying to you're rehearsing all the questions possible in your head. You're trying to give the best answers. I'm asking all my friends, I'm like, dude, do I sound like an idiot? Like, is this good enough? Like, is this going to pass to the instructors? I mean, these guys are legends. Like, they got 15, almost 20 years of service. All of them have been to GWAT. Like, is anything I'm going to say going to make me pass and stay in this career field they want me to be in? And so I just make a case for myself. I'd be like, hey, this is what I did. This is what I did wrong. And this is what I'm going to do to not do it ever again and how I'm going to improve it. And a lot of the times it wasn't stuff that actually would kill me. It was just like rules and safeties that I may or may not have broke. And I was able to, I don't know, talk myself out of it. Really, that's what you're doing. You're talking your way out of it, and stayed in. So eventually, finally to the end, I got a grav on my chest.
Damn. Congrats, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people probably don't tap more, I don't know, like 3 times, maybe 5 times or something. Like 3 to 5 is like the average, I guess. And then double tapping, usually people double tap once, and then if they do it again, they're gone. So the fact that I double tapped twice and still stayed in, it's
And
rare.
then you at the beginning, and I meant to ask you this. You mentioned unicorn. What is a unicorn?
Unicorn is where you never tap the test. So you just make it through the whole problem or the whole course without tapping. And
So in prelim, you
Yeah.
didn't fail anything, but then when it came to then you ended up double tapping a couple times.
Yeah. The prelim, I can't remember the exact amount of tests. I think it's 20 or 30. It's almost 30 tests total. Because like Neil was talking about, the phase 1 is, I think it's like 10 tests. And it's all academic, and then phase 2 is all practical, hands-on. Because you could be really smart academically, like what Beaver was talking about. You could be like, oh, I'm a maths guy, I know how to do math. But then you could just be you just don't even know how to use your hands. Like you can't put what you just learned on a paper. Like people are like, hey, dude, these are the steps, these are the warnings, these are the safeties. You take that information and you put that into your problem. So that's what is the difference between us and practically anybody else in the military. Why EOD is specifically what we can do is because we take all this information and we can use our own brains to try and figure out what actually matters and what works, and we can put that into an effect. And so you can try and understand anything all you want, but if you can't physically do it with your hands and put it into play, then you just can't make it. So,
And an example of that is like you're in the publication system. You found the ordnance that you're getting tested on. You go down range. You're waiting for your instructor to call you back down to like put your hands on or near it, or for example, to do the recomp before you even get into the publications. And it always tends to be like you've got the steadiest hands whenever an instructor is not looking at you, but as soon as the pressure is on you, like, oh goodness me, like why am I? Yeah, and in theory, right, this thing is like 2-3 pounds of explosive that's like right by your face as you're trying to like put a caliper as close as you can to the edge of it to be like, let me know what what the diameter is so that I can like accurately find this in the publication system. Whether the instructor knows it or not, whether you actually dinked it, which is like, if you tap it and the instructor's like, was that what I think it was? 16-point hit. See you tomorrow, or you're out of here.
yeah.
Or they're like looking at whatever different direction, and like you hit it and you happen to just like pretend like you didn't, and that's up to you and how much nerves of steel you have. Yeah. But that's an example of just like, you can get in the publications and everything, but like as soon as you make a noise, you're done.
Yeah. You gotta be able to apply the knowledge that you've learned, that they've obviously spent an incredibly large amount of time and effort to put into your brain. So, Beaver, you talked about a classification requirement. What do you know for sure what the requirement is? Is it I know you obviously have to have a secret. Is it a top secret that you've got to be able to get?
Yeah, so you have to be able to pass. You have get a top secret basically. So I think everybody across the Air Force probably has a secret. I think that's just by and large, pretty sure. Anyway, but you have to get that interview with whatever field agency does that, where they'll come out to like your home, or they'll meet you at a library or something, and they start interviewing you about your whole past. So it gets so in depth. So if you're a military brat like me, it was a nightmare trying to figure out all the addresses that you used to live at for the past 20 years, so you can write them all down. But they're going to comb through it like with a really fine brush, because they're going to start finding stuff like, oh, you said that you lived here in 2022. However, your mail records say that you were at this other location at this time. So what's up with that? And so you have to be able to pass that. if you have like ties to Russia or something, maybe somebody's they'll have a fit about it, and they'll be like, "What do you mean you've been talking to foreign agents for the past however long about whatever?" But yeah, if you can pass that, then that's a kind of a big hurdle for you to be able to be an EOD tech as well.
Yeah.
That is another classification, or another, when we were talking about things you need to do to get into EOD, being able to pass top secret. That's another thing. If you can't, can't be a tech.
Now, are they doing that when you get to your unit, or are they doing that in the pipeline?
So it kind of depends, because sometimes they'll do it. Usually it happens before you go, like, to get to NAV school. That's like a prerequisite. So sometimes it'll get delayed or something, and you end up doing some sort of interview in the middle of NAV school. But generally what they want to do is you have it before you go to school, because once you get to like probably the halfway point, so it's called air, so you start learning about all the air ordnance or whatever. That's like where you start experiencing like for official use only, or this, whatever the SWOE stands for, another classification where you like that stays there. That's all upstairs or all in the database kind of thing. So yeah, they try to take care of that beforehand.
Yeah, which makes sense because they're putting all that time and effort into you guys, and if you're not able to pass a TS anyway, like it's kind of a waste of a slot and a waste of time when you could be going and doing something else. So
be a personnelist or something.
Yeah, but everybody out there, keep your nose clean. And the key to a top secret is not just keeping your nose clean, but it's also being consistent. So just like you said, Beaver, you get the dates wrong in terms of, hey, I actually, especially when you're younger and a military brat, you're like, dude, I don't know, man. I was in Korea from, 04 to 03, or 04 to 05, and you get the month wrong, and they're like, hey, looks like you're falsifying documents. What's up with that? Dude, I don't know, man.
Exactly. I was 5. What do you like?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you want me to do, dude?
What do you want from me, man? I didn't come up with this info. I got this info from my parents.
That's right. That's right. But if you're lucky like me, we have my family's done a pretty good job of documenting all that stuff. So if you want to start doing this process, probably a good idea to start compiling all of that stuff well in advance, like your employee record, addresses, stuff like that. And that's just so you can have a database. And, I mean, it's just good to know GWiz stuff maybe down the road, whatever. But it's definitely good if you're trying to join EOD.
For sure.
I think for folks that like chose EOD straight from like the recruiter, you start some of that like interview process even before you ship out to basic. If you reclass, you have to do that square one when you're at prelim. And those sergeants that are there are like very adamant, are like, hey, you need to put this in tomorrow, or like if I get a note on you, you're getting smoked. And I know people that have like gotten stuck at prelim for like 3 months, 4 months. I know one friend that got stuck in Eglin, but like, and was starting the course. He got like into day 2 of demo, and then they were like, oh, your security clearance isn't all the way through. Got pulled out and was on standby doing like cleaning chores and PT for 8 months or more, I think, before shout out the homie, he's almost done. But yeah, it's just that can really hold you back.
Well, it's not, and it's more in depth. It's a TS, not a secret. So takes time, and they've got to interview. It's more than just a Google search. Like, oh, let me find out about Beaver. Oh, look at that. They've got to verify, and then depending on what pops up in your initial findings or whatever you happen to write down in your SF-86 is now they got to go interview people, and they're like, oh, we got to dig into this a little bit more. And that creates delays because no kidding, they will fly somebody out or drive somebody down to go talk to this friend or this family member or an employer to go to find out a little bit more because a red flag popped up.
So we even have higher clearances than just regular top secret. There's like a plethora of like, oh yeah, you have top secret. That's like bottom line. And then there's just so many more that keep going up and up and up. So we're constantly, or not really constantly, but every now and then we're going to have to get our stuff scheduled to get into these more specific classifications on top of top secret. And they will go crazy. Like I put my best friend from hometown, I was like, yeah, whatever, he's just some guy you guys could talk to if you needed to find more information. He's in the middle of a college class and they gave him a phone call, and they were like, "Hey, I'm Agent so and so. We need to talk to you about your friend, and when's a good time for you?" And he's like, I don't know. I'm in college right now. Like, in the middle of class. You're gonna have to get me out of class or something." And he's like, "All right, we'll see you in a couple hours." And then
Yeah.
they gave him a phone call, and they were like, "So tell me about your buddy." Like, they'll get pretty insane on,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, especially if you're going to base. I think if you're going to other bases, are probably a little bit more relaxed, even though you still need that top secret clearance, but still.
Yeah.
I
Mine.
think. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say mine was she she waited until I went to work and then interviewed out all 5 of my neighbors, and then she took out a 5-hour drive down to Yuma, Arizona to talk to one of my friends. Like, she went in depth. So whatever they found on me was like, all right, we got to deep dive this.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Neil. Go ahead.
it really, it's cool how much it like gets you access to like some pretty squirrely stuff in terms of like, I mean, things from like homemade explosives, suicide vests, like the details on that. I remember an instructor kind of put it in perspective while I was in school, where it was like, you can come out of high school, get through NAV school, and because of your top security clearance and like what your niche role is in the military, you could be like moving with the president and be part of him working with Secret Service and doing, like Secret Service bomb stuff and hanging out at Mar-a-Lago or Trump Tower or wherever these people are, these days.
Yeah.
Which not every 19, 20-year-old gets to say they've gotten to do. So
Yeah, for sure.
Events are fun. I love those. Working with Secret Service. I mean, sometimes it kind of sucks, but at the same time, like, it is pretty cool. Like, you get to clear a whole airfield and all these buildings. You're going through every nook and cranny looking for anything. You're flipping all these lights and switches. Like, wherever he could possibly go, or anybody could possibly go, that's a high value target. You just go and be like, all right, better me than them. So you're just clicking everything, and yeah, I really enjoy him. And then eventually you see him go on the plane, and he's waving. And you're like, "What's up, dude?"
I had one instructor at the preliminary schoolhouse. He had loved this story of like walking through the Pentagon and telling these high ranking officers like, "Hey, you got to get out. I got to do like a sweep for a bomb." And like, there was no questions asked. Like, the gentleman just got out, and like, it's like, wow, I've never as an enlisted gotten to tell this officer to like, "Hey, kick
Be
rocks. I
admitted.
gotta be in your office." Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I love the kind of variety that we have here, because the next question is going to be like, what does the day-to-day look like? So, Beaver, from the guard side of the house, what does your everyday kind of day-to-day operations look like?
So usually get in early. We have like a little bit of a smaller shop, but we do have a gym. So we're there like 6:30, 7 a.m. All of us, I think there's 5 of us that are active at one time. And so all of us just go work out. So we've got 2-hour window in the morning. Everybody kind of knows everybody. So we're all just kind of on the same schedule. There's no really ifs, ands, or buts about it. We hit the gym, work out, shower, change, whatever. Then we kind of, like a regular day, we end up like checking emails and doing that kind of thing. We look at the kind of the what's going on in the world for a little bit, and just kind of see if there's anything new from the Middle East, or anything new from Ukraine, Russia, that kind of deal. And then there's some paperwork or stuff every once in a while. And then the afternoon is generally when we start doing some other stuff. So I've kind of gotten into like the whole 3D printing thing. So we have a 3D printer, and I just find tools or items that I want to print, and so that we can practice on them, or just kind of like see what it looks like. And so I'll go in there and just kind of start something on the printer. Maybe that's like a little thing that I can attach all my tools to, and so I can put it in my kit. Or it's like a little this new landmine that we found in Ukraine that's pretty deadly and has some interesting features to it. So I print that out, and we just kind of do some research in the pubs about that. Once a week, obviously we're doing like our truck checks. So we got to do like the general, like, okay, is everything here good to go for the day? Just in case we get a call, let's check our the B-Serv, which is like our big base response vehicle. It looks like a massive RV with everything and anything you could think of that we would need for a response on the base. and we have just like a response vehicle, which is just a truck. It just has stuff that we could use if we need to drive to the western edge of Nebraska in some farmland because some farmer tilled up a 155 from back in the day in World War II, and that's just been sitting there. And now we need to go blow it up. So just kind of like admin stuff on a regular day. If it's not a regular day, we're like TDY somewhere and we're sleeping in barracks or in tents or something, and that's everybody kind of gets what that's all about. So that's a day to day for me, basically.
The 3D printing thing, dive in on that real quick. That's got to be pretty cool and interesting for you guys in the way that you can create not just training devices, but I got to imagine that when we start talking about different shape charges and stuff like that, and this is just more of a question because I don't know. I got to imagine that you guys are printing. Can you print different shapes to then utilize different shape charges in terms of what you need?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I started looking into was explosive effects. So a couple weeks ago, I kind of dove into this thing. My supervisor said, "Hey, there's this 190 slide PowerPoint. You should scroll through. It's about explosive effects." I was like, "All right, cool." So I started scrolling through this PowerPoint slide, and he has figured out a way to form or to create this 3D printed device that you can attach to blocks of C4 that'll help detonate something at it'll produce a more explosive. It'll be better. It'll blow something up better. So Mo better. That's right. And so I was like, "Oh, that's pretty fucking cool." Sorry. And I started printing that out. I started looking into it. Now I'm like, okay, well, now I'm going to slap a couple blocks of C4 on it. And we're going to put it on a concrete pillar that you would use at a bridge. And we're going to see if that'll work. Instead of painting it green with 30, 40 blocks of C4 and you doing it that way, where I can conserve all my explosives and I can do it with 3 or 4 or 6 blocks instead. But yeah, you can do all sorts of stuff. It's really cool. And I love diving into stuff like that for us.
Nice. And the reason why I had to ask that, because there's got to be a lot of people, because I find 3D printing fascinating. And I know that a lot of our listeners do. And the fact that you don't have to go buy that yourself. You've got a high-end 3D printer at your shop that you can just have free game. Like, just start getting crazy with it. Like, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think one of the things they always tell us is like the worst thing for the United States is an EOD tech gone rogue, just because of all of the like little things that we've learned or somebody's taught us, and just kind of how, I don't know, we can be a little devious sometimes, just like I'm sure you guys are with all of your stuff. And so
idle hands.
That's right. Exactly. Idle hands. So if you give us idle hands, you don't give us a direction, stuff's going to get a little weird, you know?
Yep, exactly. Neil, what about you? What's the day-to-day look like where you're at?
So I just got to my base a little over a month ago, which means that in processing takes a while, just moving to your first duty station. But my priority right now as a 3 level is just focusing on my CDCs and getting my upgrade training. So whenever there's like other airmen above me that are doing a training op or any like certification on any tool that we've got over there, I'm listening. And if I'm not doing that, I'm on the computer just going through presentations and quizzes. And eventually I'll take this like end of CDC test to test out of doing all that. And then I'll just focus on my 5 level. I think there's like 137 tasks that I have to get trained and certified on as an EOD tech. And then you're a 5 level. You're kind of like a real boy, which has been promised to me since like forever, since I've been doing this.
You thought you were a real boy when you graduated.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're still not a real boy, dude.
Just reset. You go through all of school, do the same thing over again, but like in a cooler way for your upgrade training. And then eventually you get your 5 level, and then you got your team leaders like, let's go to this call, and you're like, oh, get to do some real EOD shit.
You get to do it. I know that in my shop, from 7 to 8 we do PT. We've got a gym in the shop that we've got, so we work out. From 8 to 9, it's shit, shower, shave. You take care of yourself. You get ready for the day. 9 a.m. morning meeting. We look at the calendar, what's in stock, what's in store for the day and for the rest of the week. And then we do that checkout, which is, I think everyone's going to do that, right? And then we get into our tasks that we're supposed to be doing. Me as just fresh out of the schoolhouse, like I said, I'm just focusing on getting through CDCs and upgrade training.
Right. And that's why I wanted to talk about that because like I said, we've got a litany of different people where they're at here. And so for you, CDC career field development course, and what that is it's a whole bunch of books that have so you get all those tests and all that information in your respective tech school, but even when you get to your operational unit, even more tests that you've got to take to then get it, not just tests, but then practical exercise and stuff like that. So how many CDCs do you guys have?
I just
So
finished and I forgot.
there's 2 volumes.
Okay.
The first volume is 4 tests, and then the second volume is 2 tests. If
Two tests.
you can really crush it out in like a month, maybe 2. Like if you just so when I first got to the shop, we had a bunch of guys that were already going through upgrade training. So our training instructors or our training section only focused on those guys and kind of just pushed us to the wayside and said, just get your CDCs done. And so we got them knocked out where I showed up, I worked out, we did morning meeting, I did my CDCs, lunch, CDCs, and then I left. And I did that for like a month and a half,
I
and
But that's
finally
your
got it done.
job at that point. That
Yeah.
like so as a supervisor, as a staff sergeant, a tech sergeant, a 5 level, 7 level, we need you to be a real boy at that point so that we don't necessarily have to, and babysitting sounds like a bad term,
No,
right?
you're right.
But it is
Babysitting
kind of
for
like
Yeah.
that.
It's babysitting. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to trust me with explosives?
Yeah.
Like,
Sure.
I guess.
And that's kind
Uh,
of the trippy thing, right? Is like, so when we in NAV school, like we touch explosives like as soon as we get to school. That's like the first section of school because they don't want to bring anybody in that doesn't feel comfortable handling explosives, right? So we do that, and then you spend the next year not touching explosives. So you're not building up any caps, you're not building up shots, like you're not doing any sort of like buildup of some sort of demo, and then you go to your shop and they're like, okay, now you need to build up this length of time fuse to do this, or you need to cut det cord, you need to build up these electric caps so you can go do this. And you're like, how do I do that again? I haven't done that in a year now. So then it's like, that's when the babysitting comes in. So then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to have my supervisor's going to be there. Like, and it's also, you have different tools because the schoolhouse it's run by the Navy. So they have a completely different set of, like, what are they called? NSNs, like the serial numbers for things that they can purchase for the schoolhouse. And
National
the Air Force
Stockman.
has a completely different set of supplies that we can pull from. So when I show up, I don't have like this metal container that the Air Force has in the schoolhouse. And they're like, yeah, you use this metal container to do blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, well, now I got to learn this completely different thing to do something that I thought I knew before. So
Yeah.
there is a level of babysitting when you get to your first duty station. You have to go through all those CDCs and you have to do all those checklists and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's funny where like obviously they tell me and they're like, don't do anything else other than your CDCs, and I'm like, got it. I'm gonna be locked into this computer. As I go to the restroom, they're like, hey, Neil, we need you over here. Can you mind being hands on for a second? I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, as I'm walking back, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to the computer, and it's like, oh, Neil, we're doing this TCCC class. Like, you haven't done that. Actually, go do that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go do that. And it's lunchtime. And I'm like, I could have been like, way through, and all these things come up as you're supposed to be doing this thing, but you need those as well. And it's been really fun trying to navigate that.
Yeah.
And they poke fun at you for like, dude, what did you do today? Like, how many CDCs? I'm like, well, like 2, because like I did TCCC and like I helped on the B serve, and yeah.
God, you're supposed to be focusing. Come on. Well, Abe, so you're at base. So what's different for you, or is it pretty similar?
If you asked like something like that, that is like those are the main guys that handle nukes. So they're training cops all the time. I mean, those guys are just running through them. Like they know them like the back of their hands. We train them quite a bit as well. But it's really just base dependent. Because if you're, let's say you're at Luke Air Force Base in Phoenix, Arizona, you're doing range clearances. So now you're going to be out on the range for 2 weeks or a month, and all you're doing is just walking by. You're just literally like, oh, there's a mortar on the ground. I'm just gonna make my setup real quick, plug a cap with time fuse into your C4 and drop it, pop it, and walk away. and then you just doing that for like a month. It's freaking sweet. Um,
I'm very familiar with the range clearance here at Nellis.
oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, you guys are the reason there
Yeah,
are us to do clean up your work. Yeah.
I know, because they shut the range down like for 2 weeks, and we're just like,
Yep.
come on, man,
Yep.
let's
We
go.
had
What
to
do I
go
do
clean
with
up
my
your
hands?
mess. Yeah. But specifically for there's really not much. So we're kind of just focusing a lot on training as a whole shop. So it's that 7 to 8 working out. And then we clean up, you eat breakfast. A lot of times we'll eat breakfast together. We have a little morning meeting, talk about what's going to go on for the day, the week, maybe even the month. Um, then we move on to, so my specific job, even though I am a 5 level EOD tech, but we have little, uh, tasks, I guess. So I'm in the equipment office. So I'm dealing with all of our equipment. We have about $7 million worth of equipment, plethora of different items, and I have to make sure they all operate correctly. Nothing's broken, nothing's cracked, everything works, because if there is a call and they need these equipment, like if it doesn't work right, I'm probably gonna end up having my team leader killed, or whoever's out on the call could end up getting killed, or civilians or whoever else. So all of our stuff needs to be squared away. Um, and then I'm taking care of stuff like that, and I'm usually trying to hang out with the training side because I want to do some fun stuff. Come on, dude, let's go throw some kit on. There's a landmine and a grenade trip line all like strapped around in the forest in the swamps. Like, go get it. And I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. And then there's training side, which they have their own little section where their whole job is just training. So that's taking baby Neil, and they're nurturing him into the career field and being like, all right, we're going to make you a 5 level, dude. Um, and then you just have admin side and ops, and then they're just sitting back in the computers like little dark like elves, just like
Dork
clacking
elves, I
around.
love that.
Yeah, just clacking around, and you're like, hey man, what have you been doing today? And they're, they got bags under their eyes, and they're like, I've gone through all of the drive, and I fixed this, and I'm like, all right, dude, cool, yeah, all right. But yeah, pretty much that's it. I mean, there's not much to it.
Okay.
I just talked to someone. I met some dude that was working medical, and he was like, "Dude, what's your day to day like? Like, how long are you there?" I'm like, "Yeah, we work out, from this time to this time, and then like around this time we start leaving. Like you could work on some stuff if you want to stay there." He's like, "Dude, that sounds like a great time. Like I have to be there way longer. I don't
Yeah.
get to work out, and it really just like, yeah, I chose a really nice career here, but you pay it forward." With like the long days at NAV school, right? Like you wake up at 4:30 and you're not done with the day until you're done with PT at like 6, right? And like, it's like, yeah, thanks. It is an awesome day, but like there was a lot of just like eating it for a while to get to this point.
Well, and that's the thing is, whether you're a day to day, in terms of you're back in garrison, or you're deployed, or you're on an exercise, there are going to be days that you're working 18-hour days. That's just 18, 20-hour days. That's just the reality of it. But you take that back is on the days that you don't have to be. Well, I'm just not going to sit at work if I don't have to be at work. If there's nothing going on and I'm able to leave, like, then I should leave, kind of thing. But not everybody. But I say that, but maintainers can't do that. Security forces can't do that. There's career folks that they just can't do that because they are working shift work and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. All right. So kind of my last question to you guys, because we could keep this going for a while, but my last question to you, and I'll start with you, Neil, but would be, what advice would you give to folks that are considering EOD, at least, and we'll keep it with the Air Force, but if you do want to go into a different service or whatever, I'll let you take it wherever you want to take it. But what advice would you give to people that are interested in joining EOD?
I would say give it a shot because there's nothing wrong in trying. I think that I came in a little older. I'm 29. I'm turning 30 this month. I think that what's inspiring for me in this career field is whether I do a 20-year career, or with the top security clearance and just like the knowledge of knowing how to work with ordnance, being able to work with like a defense company or like, you know, work with like the FBI, Secret Service, whatever bomb tech thing. There's things that I get inspired about in terms of like setting up the rest of my life for because of this type of career. And yeah, I think if there's any interest, to just send it. I mean, the worst that happens is, you know, you don't make it and you do something else. And I've heard stories of like people that happening to, and then they come back 2 years later and they make it, right? You know, I came in older. The gentleman that, you know, got dropped at 8.5 or 8.4, he's 19, you know, by the time 2 years later and he gets back in, he's still going to have way more of a longer career even before I start mine, right? In terms of age. So, yeah, I think it's not as big blue, you know, it's still, you know, you're still part of CE, like civil engineering squadron. But it's nice to like have a little bit of autonomy there, that you're being entrusted to work with explosives, and not everyone gets to say that. And that comes with perks. It shows. Advice wise, yeah, keep your nose clean, get that TS, and then just keep your priorities straight. In terms of like, you know, what's important. Some people get lost at the schoolhouse. They give you a lot of leeway, especially on the Air Force side. I wanted to mention this. You know, I think you asked people like, why Air Force EOD? In the schoolhouse, at least, the Air Force and the Navy are in the same dorms. I think, you know, we have to go to PT. The Navy PTs on their own while they're in school. But we have weekends. We can go off base. If you're of age, you can go drink. Just make sure you're back where you need to be and you can pass the test and show up, you know. For example, like I lost weekend pass one day because I just didn't have a 341 in my pocket. Dumbest reason. I'm still sour about it. But like, I was like complaining to my Army counterparts in the schoolhouse, and they're like, "Wait, you're telling me that like now instead of like being able to come back at 2 a.m., you got to be back at midnight? Like, oh, we can't even leave the dorms. Like at 8 p.m., we got to do dorm check-in, and then we got to be we can't even go get water at night. Like, I'm like, oh my God, that's horrendous. And you know, in the schoolhouse, they talk about like the Air Force instructors, especially as you like start getting past IEDs, they'll be like, you're about to, when you get to your base, you're about to get like a $15,000 like care package that's just going to be just for you. It's EOD stuff. And it's like, whoa, that's cool. And then like the Army kids are like, do we get that? And they're like, no, but like, you know, cool. Thanks for your service.
Well, what was that like for you then, being an older dude going in there? Because you for sure right now, guarantee you have supervisors or whatever terms you guys use that are probably 5 or more years younger than you.
Yeah. Before even joining the military, that was a bit of a concern. I remember having dreams of just like being around dumb kids and just like having anxiety. Luckily, I'm childlike at heart. I like to bullshit with the boys in the dumbest ways, so it wasn't too hard of a transition. The career field, luckily too, like people that choose to go EOD, the instructors can weed you out. If they don't see what they like, if they don't like what they see, I've seen it. They just, like they'll find reasons and really nitpick you. But generally the type of caliber of human that chooses to like be willing to walk down in a bomb suit up on a bomb, like is commendable. And you see that. I remember talking to friends, you know, on the civilian side, like, hey, how are you liking the military? I came from like a pretty hippy dippy background too, like living in the jungles of Hawaii and like off grid communities. They're like, hey brother, like how's the military guys treating you? I'm like, we're great. Like these are great people. These are good people. These are my friends, you know? Yeah, they're not savages. So I really like the type of people that show up to EOD. Yes, I'm older, but it doesn't come up. And often like I am a 3 level. Like it's very evident that like I don't know a lot. And this 23-year-old, this 21-year-old do. And thank you so much for like correcting me on this thing. I don't see age. Luckily. Yeah, it's not a.
Oh, that's kind of one of the beautiful things about the military. Generally don't, but I wanted to ask it because, dude, you will not believe the amount of times that we get asked, hey, I'm 30, I'm 32 coming in, and you know, hey, just you're going to get called gray bush probably. You know, that's just,
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah. When I was like talking with my sponsor from the shop, they were like, dude, you're gonna be 30 this year. Like you're
yeah.
an
Oh
old
my
man. Like, I show up and, like it was fine. But in the schoolhouse, there was this guy that was like, they're peppered. This guy had like been to GWAT and then decided to get back in. And he's like, there was two guys in there that were like in their 40s going through again.
Yeah.
And a couple dudes in their 30s. And yeah, obviously the ball of the mass is, early 20s, younger or older teens. But yeah, that's not a limiting factor at all.
Good. That's real
Mhm.
good. What about you, Beaver? What kind of advice do you have to the next generation or anybody that's considering EOD?
If you're considering the Air National Guard, I 100% recommend it. That's like my first recommendation. Just look into it. It's really nice. That's my first thing. My second thing, if you're considering a job like this, I would also consider starting to do CrossFit. Just look into that because I'm 30 years old as well, and so I've been training for a long time. My body is pretty beat up, and that's what I did to train to get through this pipeline, and obviously it worked. So here we are. And then the third thing I would say is like check your ego at the door every day. If you show up to prelim, you walk through those doors, you don't know anything. Everybody who's your instructor, anybody that is not in your class, well, people in your class know a lot too, but just check your ego at the door and listen to what other people have to say. Because you have these kids these days, I'm say kids, and they're like 10 years younger than me, whatever. But they are so technologically adept, and there's just a different thing up there mentally where they can understand something at a much more minute level than we can as 30-year-old grandpas, apparently. And they're going to teach you how to do something in a way better way than you could. I grew up working construction, so I had a little bit of a background using calipers or measuring tools and like being careful around things, whatever it was. But you have these kids who come in here and they're like, this is how this item works, and I'm going to explain it to you in detail how this works because I saw the breakdown of it. I read the pub this way. I understand the vocabulary this way. Like, so if you go into something and you're like, oh, I know everything. Everything is all up here. I'm good to go. Like, you're wrong. And you need to start asking everybody else questions. So those are the three things that I would give advice.
Nice. I think all that's solid. What about you, Aiden?
Well, I definitely the youngest guy. I just turned 22, like almost a month ago. Looking at my calendar right now, literally like a month and a few days ago. Joined the military at 18. So, I think I was explaining it earlier with the special warfare stuff. It's the same kind of reason why I chose EOD is just go for it. I mean, obviously age isn't a factor, but I didn't want to go through college. I didn't want to kind of live my own life with the possibility of being an EOD tech or CCT or something like that in the back of my head, just like keep nagging at me, being like, you could probably make it. You could probably make it. You could do it. So I was just like, let me just bite the bullet. Let me get it done. And, best thing I've ever done for myself is just getting through it. Cause no matter how much it sucks for a little bit, I've been doing this for over 3 years now. And I just got my 5 level a few months ago. So between special warfare time, doing like a year of that, and then a long time of doing EOD, like it's gonna suck for sure, but the outcome is just so much like insanely worth all the struggles. So it just like what Neil was talking about, being no matter really what age you can retire at 30 or 20 years from now. Like I could retire at 38 and be set. Like there's probably going to be some medical benefits to this job. I mean, stuff's blowing up all the time. Like, you're going to get something out of it. So I could retire at 38, get medical 100% maybe even. So life could be sweet. I'm just a worker bee. So I like to work. I like to do things. And that'll help you out. That'll be my second point is be the eager guy. No matter how much Neil, even this actually help for you, dude. No matter how much shit you get for being the new guy, being the 3 level, the more you just keep raising your hand for things, keep asking all those questions. The moment you see a guy just even like a strong guy, he could be like 6'3" jack, and he's like carrying something heavy, and you're like, that guy probably has it. That's what most people would think. But just being an extra hand, or even just lending the hand, saying, hey man, do you need some help? Like, I'll just go be that guy. Go be that extra hand for some guy. Go be that extra, because this career field can get a little, um, mentally stressful. So if you got to be that guy just to be a shoulder, or just be some ears for some guy to just vent to, like that's another thing. A lot of people don't really talk about it. Just we're a really tight knit shop. There's only 15 guys at my shop. Some of the bigger bases have upwards of 50, even more. So, us being really close, it's pretty sweet, but always be that guy for other guys. Uh, and then for going through school, it kind of counts as the same thing. Is team gear, then your team, your own gear, and then yourself. So if you just live your life based off of those 4 principles, team gear being number 1, and then the team themselves, then your team gear, or then your own gear, and then finally yourself, and like yourself is like sleep, food, and water. And if you got like blisters or something on your feet, or you're sore or whatever, take care of that as well. But always being there, always being a team player, checking your ego, like what Beaver was talking about and Neil was talking about. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter what experience you have. Just be a dude, hanging out with other dudes, doing cool dude shit. I mean,
I'm a
it's that
dude
simple.
playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Exactly. So if you just play by the principle, life will be bliss. That's
Yeah.
that's
No,
it.
that's awesome. And I do appreciate it because you guys have given me a lot of perspective, and I hope the listeners have gotten a lot of perspective. I know they have. I mean, because you guys got completely different backgrounds, different ages, different reasons for why you guys did things, and great advice all around. And to your point, Aiden, of course it's stressful. You guys are going down on freaking bombs, like explosive things that could hurt you and people surround you. So it kind of makes sense about the stress of it. Like that's not some crazy concept. So awesome, guys. Well, I do appreciate you joining us. Thanks for giving your perspective on your career fields. Thanks for serving. Thanks for doing what you guys do each and every day. And congratulations on, let's see, congratulations on 5 level, Aiden. Congratulations on graduating, Neil. Good luck on your 5 level. And Beaver, congrats on all your other success, because you also has a podcast. Which one is it?
It's called the Sevon Podcast. So at the Sevon Podcast on all social medias. If you want to watch CrossFit, or you want to hear us talk to politicians or anything, really, we'll shoot the shit. You want to call into our show and tell me I'm an idiot and I said some stuff wrong, like, you can do that too. But there you go. Or the Sevon Podcast.
Well, dude, I'm here to tell you that even now, we've been doing this since 2019. Even now, still get messages, still get comments from people, or passing them on Nellis, going like, "Hey, fucking way to go on that one, huh?" Ooh, yeah. Well, guess what? That just happens. So no, it doesn't. So, all right, everybody, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave us a review, and then if you guys have further on comments, especially on YouTube, and questions you want clarifying things, I'm sure Neil, Aiden, and Beaver will hop on to the comments and answer any kind of questions you guys have, or at least I just kind of rogered you guys up for that, but I'd appreciate it if you guys did, just because I don't know the answers for EOD. So, yeah. All right. We'll see you guys later. See you.
Peace.
Peace.